Hey everybody, it's Gomledax and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing a sealed event of the Brothers War, the latest set on Arena. A lot of cool stuff in the format that we'll get into as we open up the cards, but without further ado, let's just bust open these packs and see where the cards take us today. Alright, well, I was going to say that one thing to mention in this set is that there are retro-framed artifact cards in every pack. That can be anything from an uncommon to a mythic rare. Awkwardly though, we didn't open any retro-framed rares, so we do get to see all 6 rares in the pack opening screen. And they're pretty awkward, I'm not gonna lie. It always sucks to open up multiple dual lands in your sealed pool. But there's a couple that are pretty good. Misery's Shadow, 2 mana for a 2/2, and we can give it +1/+1 till end of turn for only 1 mana. It's going to win a lot of combats really easily. Very efficient card there. We've got Urza, Lord Protector here, which is solid. Obviously, it's not great if you can't meld it, which we can't. We did not open up a Mightstone and Weakstone. But 3 mana for a 2/4 that makes all of your artifacts, instants, and sorceries cheaper is still pretty good. It's not like iconically or flavorfully that powerful and limited for a card called Urza himself, but it's definitely a viable card that we can build with. We have Tawnos the Toymaker, 3 a green and a blue. Whenever you cast a beast or bird creature spell, you may copy it, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Well, that's entirely dependent on what we open up in our sealed pool, and I don't think there are that many beasts or birds in this set, so this probably doesn't do anything. We'll see. And then Autonomous Assembler, another card that is 100% at the mercy of what we open. If we have a ton of other assembly workers, it's going to be pretty good. If it's the only assembly worker that we have, I guess it's still solid. A 2 mana 2/2 Vigilance or a 5 mana 4/5 Vigilance that can put counters onto itself. So now that I think of it, because it can target itself with its ability, it's pretty good. It's got Vigilance, so you know you can always spend that mana and get a counter on it, because you don't have to tap it to attack with it. So yeah, our best rares are probably the Autonomous Assembler and Misery's Shadow, followed by Urza, then Tawnos, and the Battlefield Forges are just pointless in sealed. So let's take a look at our colorless cards and our multicolored and see if any of those push us into a very clear direction here. We also get to see all 6 of our retro-framed artifacts: Chromatic Star for mana fixing, Ichor Wellspring for card draw, Millstone if the game goes long, that's a potential win condition, Burnished Heart for mana fixing and ramp, Foundry Inspector, and Sigil of Valor for a mediocre equipment, a mediocre creature. Really bad retro-frame artifacts today. Not really excited to put any of these in my deck, but Burnished Heart, Chromatic Star, Ichor Wellspring are all fine, and Millstone is maybe a win condition if we go for a really grindy deck, so not in love with the sealed pool. Double Battlefield Forge is obviously a pretty terrible open, and none of our retro artifacts are bombs, and every retro artifact has a chance to be a bomb. Some of them are devastatingly powerful, so rough stuff there, rare-wise, but maybe we've got some really consistent commons and uncommons to get there. Looking at our multicolored cards, it's just Tawnos, Urza, and then a third path Iconoclast. So we'll keep those 3 in mind as cards that we could pair 2 specific colors together to gain access to. So if we go blue and red, we've got an Iconoclast as an option, which is pretty solid. So let's check if we have any beasts or birds in the sealed pool. I thought I could search by creature type somewhere here, but oh, here we go. We do type beast. That is not how you spell beast. We'll figure that out real quick. We have 1 beast, a beast horror, and it's in black. And 1 bird, a Coilos Rock. All right, our green-blue rare does nothing. That is 3 rares that do absolutely nothing in the sealed pool then. Not great. Not great. Let's start looking at each color individually. Maybe, again, we have a really good suite of commons and uncommons that work together quite consistently, and we could make a pretty sweet, just consistent strategy rather than anything bomby. But I do think this is a relatively bomb-heavy format, especially in sealed. where a lack of bombs can be a big hindrance on your chances in sealed especially. So these are all pretty mediocre. Actually, Recommission, I've seen a lot of people playing this, and it's always been actually pretty good. There's a lot of 3 mana and less creatures in white. And this brings one back with a +1/+1 counter on it for only 2 mana, so great if you bring back a 3-drop. So I might try that out. Military Discipline, the Veteran's Power Blade, and the Union of the Third Path are all quite filler, though, in my opinion. But yeah, we've got that big autonomous assembler that seems pretty sweet. We've got a static net for excellent removal, prison sentence for pretty good removal, and Lauren, Disciple of History, is a very good value play, returning an artifact from our grave to hand when we play her. We're obviously going to play at least a couple artifacts. We'll play the autonomous assembler, and we could put in some of our other just completely colorless artifacts. So some good value cards in white. We've got one of our very few bombs, the autonomous assembler, and some great removal. Not bad at all. White's looking pretty solid as an option. Moving on to blue. So in blue we have a really low creature count, and we have a few cards I really don't want to play. Defabricate, a counterspell that can only hit artifacts. Obviously there are a lot of artifacts in the format, but still it's a really bad top deck in the late game. I don't love Involuntary Cooldown unless you're very aggressive, to where you can finish the game out while those creatures are tapped and stunned. Don't think our blue deck is likely to be that aggressive again because of the very low creature count. The creatures that are in here are pretty filler, especially Retrieval Agent, but even the Archaeologists are just fine. Willowstroke is just fine. And we have some okay interaction, Desynchronize and a Weak Stone Subjugation. Splitting the Powerstone is completely unplayable. Yeah, so it doesn't look great, and Take Flight is only good if we have a lot of creatures in our secondary color, and even then, it's definitely a risky card. If your opponent's tapped out, that's when you're pretty happy to run this out, because then you know you're going to get your cards back, at least one card back off the first attack. But yeah, if you get 2 for 1, if your opponent removes whatever you target with this before you get to attack with it, you're in a devastatingly bad spot. So, blue's looking okay, very average, very mediocre looking, is what it is there. Check out our black cards, really hoping we have some great support in black, because that is where our best rare is. And we have about 0 black cards total. There are 9 cards in black, 2 of which are Ashnod's Intervention, which I consider almost completely unplayable. It's a tiny little trick, give a creature +2/+0, and when that creature dies, you put it back in your hand. So it doesn't even put it right back onto the board, and it's pretty narrow. Very much not in love with that. And every other black card we have is pretty filler. Trench Stalker, a couple Locusts, Infiltrator, a Thraxodemon, and a Moment of Defiance. We have very few black cards, and none of them stand out except for Misery's Shadow, which is the strongest rare in our sealed pool. So that is tremendously awkward, unless we have like a multitude of ways to mana fix, like that Chromatic Star. Probably just don't get to play Misery's Shadow, because black is just not a well-supported color in this sealed pool. Red, on the other hand, has a million cards. Let's find out if they're any good. So a ton of cards in red here, and we've got some great removal. Unleashed Shell are a little bit expensive, not the greatest ever, but we do have 3 copies of it, which is quite nice. Then we have Obliterating Bolt, which is actually excellent removal. 2 mana for 4 damage, and you exile whatever you target, so that's really good removal. Mishra's Onslaught has been pretty unimpressive for the pretty hefty mana cost there. You're not getting that much. Fall of Krug, the same, really expensive card that just doesn't do too much. So cut those cards. Some of our creatures are pretty filler. Double Mutt and Dwarven Forge Chanter, Rock Hunter. Actually, all the creatures feel pretty filler. But one of our best selections of non-creature spells here. It's okay stuff there. And Blast Runner does pretty much nothing. We have about 0 cards that have to do with sacrificing. We have a single Bitter Reunion, that's about it. And Sibling Rivalry, pretty unplayable if you can't sacrifice whatever you're stealing as well. And that's only good when you're already about to win. So yeah, red is one of our better colors. I think white and red look to be the top 2 right now. Black is just so empty. And blue's a possibility, but finish off with the last color, hopefully not the least color, and oh my god, I thought we had no black cards. We have 8 green cards, 3 of which are unplayable. 2 Fog of War, it's just kind of a fog combat damage prevention effect. A little bit more interesting than that, you can build a deck around this a little bit, to where you have only creatures with power like 3 or more, so that all your stuff still deals damage, but not really. There's only 3 creatures in the color whatsoever, and none of them are incredible. Patrol's solid, Honor Guard's okay, Sprite's pretty solid as well, but nothing that I'd say is incredible. We have a Philology Excavation with absolutely nothing to ramp into with the Power Stones. Pretty good non-creature spells though. Epic Confrontation and Gaia's Gift are both great, but if we cut our bad cards, we have 5 green cards total, which 5 green cards does not a deck make unless we fill our deck with a boatload of colorless cards, and none of our colorless cards are honestly very good. We don't really have filler colorless creatures. Our filler creatures are like 1 Burnished Heart, a Mineworker's tremendously filler, but I guess we could run it. Boundary Inspector also a tremendously filler card. Like, we have bad filler in terms of colorless cards. Outside of Burnished Heart, that is like good filler. Yeah, we don't have enough great colorless cards to fill out a deck where one of our colors only has like 5 cards, so we just can't play green or black at all. The best thing that we get by playing blue is potentially in blue-white we can play Urza. Outside of that, our red-white looks to be the best color pair, and we do get a couple Battlefield Forgers if we go in that direction. I actually have decent mana fixing. I could have 2 Battlefield Forgers, 2 Evolving Wilds, and go blue, red, and white here. Because we have 2 Battlefield Forgers for red-white fixing, 2 Evolving Wilds that can grab any of the 3 colors. We have a Chromatic Star, sack for whatever color we need. Burnished Heart can sack for whatever color we need. 2 different colors at once as well, which is really good. We might just be blue, white, and red here. Every color except the ones that we have like 0 cards in. Yeah, let's put all this in for now and start putting some of our best blue, white, and red cards in the deck. We don't really have any best blue cards, do we? Blue might just be for Urza and Third Path Iconoclast. And we have Weak Stone Subjugation, some Archaeologists. It's all like fine in blue. Some Take Flights. Maybe red, white, splash in blue. So play Prison Sentence for removal. Static Net for removal. Autonomous Assembler is our biggest bomb. We can play Combat Courier. That's very splashable because we don't need to unearth it immediately. Lauren is a really good value play. The Airlift Chaplains are quite solid little value plays. Mill Ourself and Return of Plains or mana value 3 or less card from grave to hand. If we don't, then it's a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, which is not bad either. I like Powerstone Engineer on 2. You just trade it off with something and get a Powerstone left behind. Help pay for your Autonomous Assembler a little early or something like that. And Lauren's Escape is, I think, our best little combat trick here. Saves things from removal spells as well. Spotterthopter's solid because even if we don't have blue mana, we could cast it late game. One of our most splashable blue cards, so we'll put that in there. And throw in our great red removal spells, Obliterating Bolt. That's the great one. The Unleashed Shells are okay, but we put them in anyway. 35 cards, 5 more cards get to come into this deck. Scrapwork Mutts seem pretty solid. I love the Unearth on the card. Discard a card, draw a card when you play them. Digging for whatever card type you need. Pretty great with Unearth nonsense. Mishra's Juggernauts could be okay. Discard them off the Mutts, bring them back later for a big swing. Heavyweight Demolisher is another big Unearth card. Really expensive to keep this around, though. I have to spend 3 mana every turn, but it is an 8/6. This is 39 out of 40 cards. What is the curve looking like? Pretty good. I don't really think I want another 8-drop, although this is a 4-drop as well, the Spotterthopter. I don't really want to put in the card that I can only cast if I have 7 mana. I think I'd rather just have like another mid-range card. Probably like a 4-drop would be perfect if we have any solid 4-mana plays. But I don't think we do. Yeah, we have a 7-mana card or a 2-mana card is about it for options here. Maybe I could play 1 stone retrieval unit or something. But I'm not using those power stones particularly well. Definitely not going to play the 8-drop Suchi Cave Guard. I guess Warlord's Elite is like a 3-mana play or a 5-mana play, so it kind of fits into the middle there. The in-between spot on the curve. This is 14 creatures. I do think we want the last edition to be another creature then. Although I can take a peek at the non-creatures. See if we're really missing out on something. I mean, Recommission's fine. Solid. Weak Stone Subjugation would be an okay splash, but I think we're relying on red and white removal. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 removal spells without the blue removal. More than good enough. How many cards do we have that share power and toughness? Not enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cards, 5 cards in the whole deck that trigger Symmetry Matrix. That's too few. Unless the majority of your creatures trigger this thing, like 15-ish. Like pretty much every creature. I think it's just a little too narrow for me. Just throw a random Wellspring in here, I guess. Just get some cycling. Do I have any ways to sacrifice artifacts for value? I don't believe I do. I certainly do not. I guess I could put in a mine worker just because it's another assembly worker to work with the autonomous assembler. But I still feel like the vast majority of the time I'm just going to use the autonomous assembler to put a counter on itself. So I mean, I have some ramp in here. Burnished Heart pulls out 2 lands. Urza makes things cost 1 less. Powerstone Engineer could get a Powerstone down. Maybe I'm okay to just slam the 7-drop in here. I mean, it is what it is. It's between another 7-drop or another 2-drop. I don't think either are particularly great for the deck. They're both fine. We'll just try the big splashy 7-mana creature because it's fun. I think I'm just going to call it a deck there. Again, I'm really not in love with this sealed pool. Hit a lot of dud rares, and the good rares that we have, quote-unquote, far from the level of bombs that exist in the format. Autonomous Assembler being the strongest card in the whole deck. So definitely relying on drawing well here with this deck, but this is going to be the deck. Alright, here we have a look at the completed sealed deck that we will be playing with today. This is primarily a white-red deck, white at the absolute core, with red coming in for some great removal like Unleash Shells and Obliterating Bolt. But honestly, not too much to say about this deck. It's very mid-rangey, very average. This is just a pile of the only decent cards in the sealed pool. We had pretty much nothing in green or black in terms of quantities, so these were the only colors we could really play around with here. And it is what it is. Didn't really open up any bombs. Our bombiest thing is Autonomous Assembler, making itself bigger over time. Urza Lord Protector is also pretty solid. Makes her spells pretty cheap to cast, but I certainly wouldn't classify it as a bomb. So just trying to be a very average, very mid-rangey sealed deck today. Playing creatures on curve throughout the curve. Playing some removal at the right time. And hopefully just squeezing out a few victories out of this sealed event, but this does not feel like a winning sealed pool, I can tell you that much. So see how many victories we can pull out with just a very average pile here, just mid-range pile of cards, as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play game 1. Scrapwork Mutts are pretty great with the Juggernaut in hand. We can discard an Unearth card to draw a card, and then we can, of course, unearth it later. So very valuable with that graveyard mechanic. I am super into it. Our opponent is still deciding on their mulligans here, the Zamboni Thief themselves. Did they just show up into the ice rink and Just hopped on the Zamboni and drove away. Or drove away. Just right onto the street. I want to know the lore of this username. That is just an interesting one. Uh-oh. If I flood out, then I definitely would have preferred to discard a land, but I can discard a land off the second Scrapwork Mutt, and I will absolutely do that if I draw a 6th land here. Playing against a black-red, we draw into an Obliterating Bolt. That's pretty sweet. I may still want to just discard a land to this Scrapwork Mutt. Plot an island with Evolving Wilds first, so I'm unlikely to draw another one. I guess it's not guaranteed that I won't need more mana. So I could just not discard a card, but I think it's way more likely I flood out right now. Then gets mana screwed here. No, I forgot to crack Evolving Wilds. It might be okay to do this first. Alright, so we did get another land from that. Which won't be the end of the world if I don't get a 6th land here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lands out of the deck. After our Evolving Wilds, 7 will be out of the deck. So there's going to be 10 left and 28 cards. A little bit over a 1 in 3 chance of lands and future draws. So about 2/3 chance of hitting some gas. I'll take it. Seems reasonable to me. I probably should have Evolving Wilds before the discard there, but again, it's not that big of a deal. It would have lowered our percent chance of hitting a land off that draw by like 3% or something. Like, doesn't matter that much. Just got unlucky with the land draw there. I did get punished for that. Transmigrant Altar. So if they get creatures onto the board, they can then sacrifice them to turn them into 3/3s. Well, another land is not ideal, but our opponent doesn't have any action right now, so we get to just keep chipping in. We've got all of our colors. We can cast anything we draw into. So if they get a creature onto the board, they can spend 2 mana, tap this, and sacrifice that creature to make a 3/3 zombie artifact creature token. They can only do that during their turn, but they have the one card that synergizes really well with it, the Clay Revenant, that they can keep bringing back from the graveyard to their hand, keep recasting and sacrificing it to the altar, and that is their plan here. Just get an endless supply of 3/3s, and we will get an endless supply of lands. I already can't attack in anymore. Against that 3/3, I could blow it up, but they're just going to get another one now with this Clay Revenant return. They don't have the mana to get it immediately, but I think we're just getting Transmigrant Altered out of the game. Our hand is just way too slow to deal with this. Whenever you attack with a creature, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures, and it's a 4 mana 3/5. That is a very good card. It's like impossible to race that thing. And it's a triggered ability too, so Prison Sentence doesn't get rid of it. The ability will keep hitting me. An Obliterating Bolt just doesn't do enough damage to kill a 5 toughness creature. Well, Combat Courier, we gonna have any goodies coming up? Static Net, there we go, that's a way to get rid of Mishra here. Don't really have any other plays for this turn, so I guess we pass through. Pretty desperately want to get our opponent in a position where they put the Clay Revenant on the board and don't immediately sack it to the altar. That way I can exile it with the Obliterating Bolt. Alright. Oh, they have exactly enough to sack it. Yeah, they're just not going to put themselves in that position. So we just can't do anything to stop this combo. It's our only way to exile it is sorcery speed, and they're just not leaving it on board ever. Another land for us over here. Not ideal. Probably have to just prison sentence one of these 3/3s. Guess I can draw a card off Courier still. If I prison sentence one, I get to hit them for 4 here also. Sure. But they can just sack it and get another one. Unleash Shell's fine. Airlift Chaplain's fine. Don't think either of these cards can find us the win. I think we just started off much too slow into the 2-card combo from opponent. Unleash Shell seems like the closest we can get to the win here. Their best way to win is to somehow outrace them here, just find a bunch of extra damage out of nowhere, which is definitely what Unleash Shell can provide. Blows up a blocker and hits them for 2, it can ruin their math on blocks pretty well. Legions to Ashes, okay. They have the exile spell for our removal spell, meaning they now drain us for life every time they attack again, gain a bunch of life. What are you gonna do? Just got chump blocks over here. Double block a 3/3, I guess, but they still have the Clay Revenant. I'm just going to move on to next game. Here we are in game 2 of our very mediocre sealed pool sealed deck. All 3 colors, turn 2 is nice, but a pretty slow hand nonetheless. Some interaction, and then we're not doing anything till turn 4. 5-drop creature doesn't speed it up at all, and our opponent's going to start with a Millstone, and we hilariously did not open up a single disenchant or artifact removal spell, so we literally don't have a single card in our whole sealed pool that can kill Millstone. So I guess we're getting milled out. Gnawing Vermin for 2, Millstone for another 2. We need to outrace pretty dramatically here if we're going to win, and Lauren's a solid start to that, bringing back one of the cards that they've milled. Bringing back this Spotterthopter. Gives us a shot. There's Millstone milling us 2 cards. A Rock Hunter. Five mana, drop a Mishra's Juggernaut here, trade into the Rock Hunter first though. That is out of the way, here's the Juggernaut. Hoping they don't have an Obliterating Bolt that would exile this. That way we can get that Unearth value. Goring Warplow from our opponent, so they get a Death Toucher to block the Juggernaut and kill it. What kind of trick is this? They're just going to disfigure the Juggernaut? I mean, I don't really see a reason not to take 1 damage here. They're not really going to kill us by life, they're milling us out. Is it possible to bolt and play a creature? It is. I can bolt and play Thopter, so I think I do that to be mana efficient and get more threats onto the board. And with Spotterthopter, weirdly enough, we want to scry anything good to the bottom of our library so it doesn't get immediately milled. These are both bad, so we can get those milled. of awkward not playing the tap land by now. Means that we don't get to play Demolisher next turn. Hopefully our opponent plays a Death Toucher or something and we need to Unleash Shell next turn. That would give us something pretty good to do with our mana. Raise to the ground. They are going to blow up our artifact creature here. Gets one last swing, but that's about it. Down to 18 cards in the library. We're dead in not 9 turns because we also draw each turn. We're dead in probably about 7. Draw 7 cards plus mill 14. Not even that. Draw 6 cards plus mill 12. 6 turns. We're dead in 6 turns. Especially if I play the Mutt or the Evolving Wilds, then I'm dead even faster. Oh, this whole game is just a big yikes here. I feel like I need to play the Evolving Wilds to get to this heavyweight Demolisher. That feels incredibly necessary. We'll just get this Juggernaut damage out of the way. While I have exactly 6 mana to do that. They're down to 8. That is dead in 1 hit from a heavyweight Demolisher. So if they're out of removal, they can't like exile it. Then they use a removal spell on it, put it in my grave, and then I just unearth it and kill them with it. It's a game plan. I need to guarantee that I have an untapped land this turn, so I kind of have to mill myself 1 card with Evolving Wilds there. Static Net. I do have 1 card that gets rid of Millstone. I don't think I'm playing it just yet. I'm just going to play Demolisher. I should have attacked first, given them an opportunity to throw a removal spell at Spotterthopter if they have one. Can't think of a 2-mana instant speed removal spell that can kill that, though. There's Go for the Throat, but that destroys non-artifacts. Alright, they're done on board next turn. Especially because we have 2 removal spells back up. Maybe we just outrace the Millstone. Just barely here. 14 cards left. Oh, they're just dead. They're just dead to the Menace. Alright. Just firmly outrace the Millstone. I will take it. Definitely was expecting the 8/6 to get exiled there. Maybe the 5-mana instant speed exile removal spell, but it's like they just didn't have a ton of removal in the sealed pool. Not enough to lock the game out long enough for the Millstone win there, so it's going to be 1-1. 1-1 to start it off as we head into Game 3. Game 3 of the Brothers War sealed event. We have an incredibly powerful hand that only has 2 lands. I am on the draw. If I can turn 3 Urza, everything's cheaper, but that's still a 4-mana card. That's still a 6-mana card. This is still a mulligan. This is the same hand without the late cards. Probably fine. And we do get the mana to play the turn 3 Urza. Should be pretty fun. Again, not that Urza does a whole lot in this hand. It's not going to make anything cheaper, but Urza's still a cool card, flavorfully, to drop onto the board. And I did draw into an Unearth card to discard to the Mutt. That's pretty great value. Uh-oh, we drew both of our islands and no mountains yet. Could be a bad time for our Mishra's Juggernaut as it just sits there in the grave. All sad and alone. No way to get to the board. A fate worse than death. Battlefield Butcher from our opponents. Pretty devastating card. Really good activated ability here that just gets cheaper and cheaper throughout the game. Tremendously good card. Again, Urza doesn't make anything cheaper right now, so we'd actually just rather play an Airlift Chaplain. And it's just going to be a 2/2 flyer. We obviously can't attack through a 1/4 with a 2/1. The stat line lines up really well for that Battlefield Butcher here. And since Mutt can't really do anything anymore, we'll just take the trade. If I play Lauren before I play Urza, I do get to get 2 artifacts from my graveyard back into my hand, which is pretty great value, so that's the plan here. Try to outvalue our opponent. It's going to be hard to do, though. They've got some great Unearth cards. Scrapwork Rager drawing them a card. Scrapwork Mutt letting them discard a card, draw a card. Mishra Excavation Prodigy is the play for the turn. A 2/1 haste. They can tap, discard a card, draw a card. They discard an artifact card, they get double red. Interesting little card there. I think I'm just going to play Lauren and pick up the Juggernaut here. If I hit a land, then I just slam that down. Big Trampler. Big Trampler. If I don't hit a land, I play Urza and I can start casting multiple artifacts for really cheap. And obviously I get to pick up the Scrapwork Mutt by doing that as well. I can even play a Combat Courier for free. That's combos right there. Synergy. Disfigure for the Airlift Chaplain. That's pretty sad. That was our main win condition currently. Rather just play a single Juggernaut than a bunch of small creatures that can't get through a Battlefield Butcher. And this way makes it so once they trade off their 3/1 into the Juggernaut, I can bring it back again playing the Urza. Lauren of the Third Path. That is obnoxious. Reclamation Sage is so disgustingly good in this format that they upshifted it to rare, which is very fair. However, this is even better than Reclamation Sage. Now it has Vigilance and taps to have each player draw a card if they want to do that. But just a Reclamation Sage with Vigilance already pretty nasty. Horrible time for us, for sure. Pick up the Juggernaut again. I think I just want to play Courier and have the ability to sack this and draw a card at the ready. It threatens to block their 3/1 and lets me draw a card if I need a card. Emergency Weld from our opponent. Get a 1/1 and put the Scrapwork Mutt back into their hand. They just have the rarer version of Lauren than I do. That's not fair. It's cheating, they're one-upping me. Just realized these are the exact same character. Alright, got some good value there. Discarded the Mutt to draw a card, then used the 2 red they got from discarding it to immediately replay it, to discard a card and draw a card again. They don't really have attacks here. And if I want to disfigure to kill Urza, that's not horrible for me. Alright, they were just threatening to have a trick there. Could have sacked the Courier to draw a card. I probably should have, but I do like that it threatens the infantry, even if they kill my Urza. I probably should have kept that land to just discard to one of these Scrapwork Mutts. But we'll play the Juggernaut. Playing the land out does mean I get to play Juggernaut and draw a card off Courier. Unless I'm going crazy, it is pretty late in the night. I might have just completely blanked and not had a land this turn. I'm pretty sure I played a land, though. Still don't really have attacks. We need to draw into another flyer, as our opponent has. Flyers definitely huge in most sealed formats. This one is no different. We are just getting into massive board stalls where we need to find some kind of evasion to finish the game. We have a... Alright, well, now we know what our static net is going to get cast on. I would have far preferred that we could just use it on their flyer, but Siege Veteran's going to sit there putting a +1/+1 counter on one of their creatures every single turn. The card is disgusting, and we cannot let that stick around. As I was saying, though, I do have another Airlift Chaplain and a Spotter Thopter for flyers we could hit, and I do have that Autonomous Assembler for a sort of a bomb here. Kind of too slow, though. We do just die to this Paratrooper, which is a problem. I have 2 copies of Unleash Shell and an Obliterating Bolt. I have 3 removal spells, Prison Sentence as well. I have 4 removal spells that can get rid of it. Some of those wouldn't be enough to kill the Veteran if I let it keep popping off here. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to shoot the Siege Veteran first and just take 2 damage a turn for a little bit. We do have to attack with the Juggernaut. They're going to go ahead and trade the conscripted infantry with it. So trample over for a little bit of damage, but they do get a 1/1 back out of the exchange. And that is going to be it for the turn. Hero of the Dunes. Luckily we exiled the Siege Veteran. We exiled that bomb rare, but they can bring back the infantry here. Hero of the Dunes is a brutally good card. I think it's one of, if not the best uncommon in the format. We used it to really good effect in our last draft deck, and as you can see here, when your deck is built around it, which is very, very easy to do, it's a 5-drop that brings back almost anything from your graveyard and buffs your entire board. Hero of the Dunes is just a very strong card. It is going to beat us up and take our lunch money here. We need to draw something incredible or we're just dead. I don't even know what we're looking for now. I mean, I can kill the flyer, but now I'm dying to the hero. I can't kill the flyer. I only have 1 red source still, halfway through the deck. It's pretty cool. I can use Chromatic Star, though, to cast the Unleash Shell. So that'll work. Draw into a Plains. Shoot the flyer. And we play our best blocker, which is a 4/5 Vigilance. And hope that this is enough to keep them off of us for now. And then we can just start to keep putting counters on the Autonomous Assembler. Yoshin Frontliner from our opponents. Whenever it attacks, they give another creature +1/+1 until end of turn. Scrapwork Cohort is a 3/1 that spits out another 1/1. 2 very nice plays alongside a Hero of the Dunes. They can kill me in like 2 attacks if they just click the all attack button twice. I can't really make good enough blocks to live. I need creatures that can stick around forever, rather than unearthed creatures, so I'm pretty sure I need to just cast this Scrapwork Mutt. Although I should probably unearth the Combat Courier and draw a card off of that first. And just see what we get. And then if it's garbage, I can discard that card to the Scrapwork Mutt. Juggernaut is not garbage. It's not great because it's just going to trade into their infantry, but it is going to hit them a little bit, and they're down to 12. I even have a Loren's Escape I could use later with it. I actually think I want to play that. I would rather play the mutt than put a counter on the assembler here. Alright, we don't have a massive chance. We're definitely behind here. But it is not over yet. Could find a cheeky way to get lethal if my opponent blocks with just 3 1s a couple times in a row. The Juggernaut is going to trample over for some damage. We are each going to draw a card from their Lauren. They have Overwhelming Remorse, our big rare Juggernaut card, our Autonomous Assembler, which is sad. Alright, well, there are 2 draws this turn. We're removal spell, and that just completely counteracts my entire plan there of going wide to maybe live. I don't know if we die in this swing, we probably do. I'm just gonna straight up block the highest power creatures real quick. These are the 3 highest power creatures. Let's find out. Pretty sure that's just dead. That Exactsies? No, it's even more, it's just overkill. Disgusting stuff there. We are gonna start this sealed out 1 and 2, but I mean, as you could tell from the response to the rares and the deck building in general, kind of to be expected with this sealed pool, if I'm being honest. Here we are in what will probably be the final game of today's sealed. We are going to keep this hand. We have access to all 3 colors of mana and a chromatic star for more mana fixing if we need to hit double red or something like that. And let's just get curving out as best we can here. Get our tapped land out of the way immediately. Play an Autonomous Assembler here, just slam it down immediately. Actually, kind of okay to me. Ambush Paratrooper is their play. So we've got a 2 mana 2/2 Vigilance. We can keep putting a +1/+1 counter on every turn. If we curve out with that right now, then our 5-drop can be Juggernaut. We just keep throwing removal and try to win this game real quickly. Try to get aggro here with the way this hand is set up. No blocks. Fair enough. Drop our Chaplain. Don't know if I'm going to have to keep paying a life to this Battlefield Forge. Although there is a Plains I could pick up, I would rather not. So I can potentially actually trade into one of the flyers. It's going to be a little awkward though, because I'm going to need to hit 1 more land at some point here. But I don't think making the Chaplain a 1/1 is worth getting that Plains. Or getting that Plains is worth making the Chaplain a 1/1 the other way around. Philology Vanguard, alright, well, so much for our aggressive curve. That is some more aggressive stuff from our opponent. The Vanguard, a very scary card, gives something +2/+0 every time a creature enters the battlefield under their control. At least since we made the Chaplain a 2/2, they don't get a great attack in this turn, because we can just trade for the Commando, so they might just not attack with it. And they choose not to attack with it. 4 mana up here, I can Prison Sentence, but this does not stop triggered abilities, which is what the Vanguard has, so the Vanguard's going to be a really bad time for us regardless of what we do here. Could shut off the Wing Commando. Get in with the Chaplain. If I attack with Assembler, I'm attacking with essentially a 3/3. They can double block it pretty well. Play the Mutt, discard Juggernaut's not horrible, but I think I want to just play that on 5. I think I just play Mutt and I don't discard anything. And then I just play a Chromatic Star to have it on board. We pass turn, get a counter on the Assembler. Well, this is going to be bad for me. It's going to be some kind of devastating combat trick where anywhere I block ends really poorly for me. I don't have any interaction here. Almost feels like I have to just let it all in and take a million. I do have the 5 mana. They could just use Paratrooper here, make that a 3/3, that a 2/3, and that a 3/4 first strike, in which case I have no good blocks anywhere off of just that ability alone. And the threat of activation is what's deadly here. Now, if I don't block, they don't have to spend all their mana into it, so they can just play another card instead. Well, it looks like that's the best play they have. That's actually kind of nice. I'm probably losing this game, but the fact that they're not rolling out with another creature here feels nice. With the 5th mana, I can just blow up the Vanguard so I don't have to worry about extra power and toughness being thrown onto the board here. Just attack with everybody since they do have enough mana to use Paratrooper. The Chaplain's not going to be blocking well. Probably should have attacked with Chaplain the turn before this. I should have realized earlier that the Paratrooper was at enough mana to use its ability, so I didn't have any viable blocks with Chaplain. But I had an okay attack with it. So I probably could have chipped in for 2 more damage there. And if not that, I could have traded with Commando, which was not bad. Hey, Saheeli, how's it going?
If I can build it, I can beat you with it.
Yeah, you can definitely beat me with a Saheeli.
Like making masterpieces is hard?
-2, create 2 1/1 flyers with haste. Yeah, no, we're just dead. We are just very dead. If I had a second Unleash Shell, they would be at exact lethal. Unfortunate we don't get to punish them there. They can't make another flyer next turn, but they can just use Paratrooper to buff everybody. I can Prison Sentence Paratrooper, block Wing Commando, take 2. It's the only possible way to survive here. So an 8. Draw a 3rd Path Iconoclast. Does that make flyers? No. Wish that made flyers. Still pretty good. I have to shut off Paratrooper because I need its ability to be gone. Just kill Saheeli here. I mean, I'm dead in 2 attacks. I kind of have to hit them and just hope I can find lethal off the skin of my teeth next turn. All she does next turn is scry 1. And I'm dead in 2 attacks. We have to just go face. They can trade their flyer into my mutt. And if they just take the damage, that's almost guaranteed that they are just killing Chaplain and getting it for lethal as the plan. Sure is. Sure is the plan. It's going to be 1 and 3 for today's sealed events. Pretty unfortunate, but does show off the big downside of the format and why I am generally not a fan of sealed outside of pre-release events and really not a fan of sealed on Magic Arena. It is just a hefty, just astronomical entry fee of 2,000 gems and you get almost nothing back unless you go 6 wins then you break even. So really not a fan of the entry fee on these sealed events. When sealed is a format where you are so much at the mercy of what you open that you can just open a deck like this and just get slammed by some Saheelis and stuff. You know, sometimes you just open 6 rares, 2 of which are lands, 1 of which is in a color you only have 5 cards in, 1 of which does absolutely nothing in your sealed pool. Just a brutal sealed deck here. We had no bomb power. Picked the only colors that actually had some removal and some consistency. I think we built right around the best kind of deck we could here. Just not a great sealed pool today, which absolutely happens. So unfortunate stuff today. Definitely felt like we just had a pile of cards and no real synergy in terms of the cards out of our packs there. So rough stuff. Literally the first time I've ever opened 0 retro artifact rares or mythics out of the 6 different packs. So that is exceptionally brutal, but it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. Gotta balance things out after the 3-0 in the midweek Magic sealed event. Just wish that I could have traded sealed pools, got the very mediocre one in the free event, and the good one in the paid event, because that is a big loss of gems today. Unfortunate stuff. Well, hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope it was useful to you in some ways, or it was just enjoyable, entertaining at all. If you did like this video and you'd like to see some more videos like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more of these videos in your recommended feeds. We're going to be playing at daily Brothers War drafts and limiteds for quite some time. We have the Brothers War sealed arena open in a couple weeks. We've got the Brothers War qualifier weekend event is going to be sealed next month, so I might be trying to hit Mythic to get qualified for that, or we'll be playing in some Brothers War sealed qualifier playing events next month. So big Brothers War competitive stuff on the horizon, so we'll be playing a lot of this set in the near future. But as always, I'll be playing anything they put on Arena when it comes to draft and sealed, particularly draft being by far my favorite format. So interested in any of that, stay tuned. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.